Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to completely unpack the hidden rules of the game using Thomas Sowell's massive 700-page masterpiece, Basic Economics. Look, the economy often feels like this chaotic, overly complicated beast, right? But today, we're going to learn to see it differently. We're going to see it as a very simple, predictable system of cause and effect. By the time we finish up here, you're going to have these rock-solid mental models that will make you practically impossible to fool. So, here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering rewards and trade-offs, the honest signal of prices, why price controls fail, profits, losses, and value, and finally, the power of free trade. Let's get right into it. All right, Section 1, rewards, intentions, and trade-offs. Let's kick this off with a real-world question. How do you raise exactly $106 million? Back in 2008, the state of Maryland thought they had the absolute perfect answer. They needed the money, so politicians looked at their state, saw they had about 8,000 resident millionaires, and simply did the math. Their intention was incredibly straightforward. Heavily tax those 8,000 high earners, and boom, collect $106 million more every single year. Problem solved, right? Well, not exactly. This story brilliantly illustrates a core economic truth. People respond to rewards, not intentions. By year 2, a full quarter of those millionaires, 2,000 of them, simply vanished. They just packed up and moved somewhere else, because what Maryland actually did wasn't just raise money. They inadvertently rewarded millionaires for leaving. And when those people left, they took their businesses, their restaurants, and all those jobs right along with them. The ultimate result of that policy was a massive, literal backfire. Instead of gaining that intended $106 million, the state of Maryland actually lost $257 million in total tax revenue. It's a really stark reminder for your own life and career. Don't ask what you want people to do, ask what you're actively rewarding them to do. Which brings us to the underlying concept driving all of this, the trade-off. Basically, a trade-off means every choice involves giving up something else, simply because every dollar or every hour can only be spent once. Economics really isn't about what you inherently have. If it were, oil-rich Venezuela would be booming right now, and resource-poor Switzerland would be totally broke. But we see the exact opposite. Economics is entirely about what you choose to do with what you have, and consequently, what you choose to give up. Let's look at the unseen cost of your everyday decisions. Say you buy a beautiful $50,000 BMW today. You feel great. But consider the alternative. If you bought a $20,000 Toyota instead and invested the remaining 30 grand, in 30 years, that money could become nearly $250,000. So that BMW didn't just cost you 50 grand today, it literally cost you what that money could have become in the future. Once you start seeing your time and money through this lens of trade-offs, I promise you, it changes how you look at everything. Okay, moving on to Section 2, the honest signal of prices. To really understand this, there is a famous story about a meeting between Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev and British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. Gorbachev, coming from a centrally planned economy, was just completely baffled by a vibrant, buzzing city like London. He famously asked Thatcher, "How do you make sure people get food?" Her reply was brilliant. She just said, "I don't. Prices do." There's no government office, no, minister of sandwiches required to make sure millions of people in London get their 3 meals a day. To truly appreciate how wild that is, think about the sheer mathematical impossibility of centrally planning something as simple as nationwide pizza delivery. If you were in charge of all the pizza in the country, you'd have to perfectly balance these massive, constantly shifting variables. You'd need to predict daily demand fluctuations in every single town, figure out geographic distribution grids, and somehow, this is the crazy part, calculate exactly how much milk should go to making pizza cheese versus making ice cream. Literally no human or supercomputer can process these millions of variables fast enough. But prices do it effortlessly, every single day. When pizza is scarce, the price naturally goes up, signaling suppliers to rush out and make more. Prices are the ultimate honest communicators.
Which perfectly sets up Section 3, why price controls fail.
When we ignore those honest signals, it builds into a catastrophic domino effect. A perfect neutral example of this is rent control in New York City. The initial intention is very noble, make housing affordable. So step 1, rent is officially capped. But mathematically, artificially low prices naturally triggers step 2, a massive surge in demand. Everyone wants their own place, and people hold on to apartments they don't even really need. It's essentially hoarding. Then comes step 3. Landlords who can no longer cover their costs or make a profit just stop doing repairs. And finally, step 4, the buildings literally rot and are abandoned. The unintended consequence of this well-meaning policy is that it leaves thousands of apartments sitting completely empty while a massive homeless population sleeps right outside. It absolutely breaks the system in both directions, as we can see in these two historical examples. In Zimbabwe, during their inflation crisis, the government mandated food prices be artificially low. The result? Farmers couldn't afford to sell at a massive loss, so food simply rotted out on the farms while people starved in the cities. Massive shortages. Now, conversely, in the early 2000s, India guaranteed artificially high prices to help their wheat farmers out. The result there? Farmers produced way more than anyone actually needed, and 11 million tons of wheat just piled up and rotted in government warehouses. Huge surpluses. Whether you force the price too low or too high, you break the system's honest signal. Let's zoom back in for Section 4, Profits, Losses, and Value. Think back to trading snacks at the school lunch table. If you brought fruit snacks, demand was high, and you made a quote-unquote profit in your trades. The honest signal was super clear. Yes, do more of this. People want this. But what if you brought raisins? Yeah, nobody wanted them. You took a loss. But here's the secret. That loss is incredibly valuable. It's the market honestly telling you to stop wasting your resources on something nobody wants. When a failing business loses money and shuts down, it actually frees up engineers, steel, and electricity to go toward creating something society actually values. And honestly, this completely changes how we look at jobs too. It entirely depoliticizes the conversation around wages, reducing it to very simple math. Imagine you own a lemonade stand. Maria is fast, she's friendly, and she helps you sell 10 extra cups an hour. She creates $10 of real value, so you can pay her up to $10. Jake, on the other hand, is distracted, he spills lemonade, he only helps you sell 2 extra cups. If you pay Jake more than $2 an hour, you're losing money. Your wage isn't based on your time. It's based entirely on the tangible results and the value you create. And we can track the exact timeline of what happens when regulations interact with this math. The mathematical reality shows that in year 1, a worker creates $10 of value per hour. Then in year 2, a well-intentioned mandate forces the business to pay that worker $15 an hour. But remember, the actual value created hasn't changed at all. The business is now mathematically forced to lose $5 every single hour that person works. No business can survive that. So, by year 3, the business owner naturally adapts to survive. They cut hours, or they replace the worker entirely with a self-checkout machine. Employers pay for results, not time.
All right, our final act, Section 5, the power of free trade.
Here's a massive takeaway. Trade creates value without creating more stuff. Just think about it. Let's say you have a sandwich. Your friend has a pizza. You trade halves. Did the total amount of food in the room magically increase? No. But are both of you happier? Absolutely. That is the magic of trade. It's a form of cooperation where literally nobody loses. You didn't beat your friend, and they didn't beat you. You both won. And this principle applies even if you are the absolute best at everything. Take a look at this lawyer's trade-off. This lawyer makes $300 an hour doing legal work. But let's say they are also a really fantastic, incredibly efficient cleaner. Should they clean their own office? Mathematically, no way. They are economically far better off hiring a cleaner for $20 an hour and spending that saved hour doing legal work. Even if you hold an absolute advantage in both areas, focusing strictly on your specific highest value advantage and trading for the rest makes everyone involved much richer. And the exact same math applies to whole countries trading goods with one another. So what is a price trying to tell you today? Are you doubling down on what works, or are you ignoring the honest signals of the market? Reflect on the trade-offs in your own life right now. Every hour you spend on a weakness is an hour stolen from your strength. Once you see these hidden rules of cause and effect, you aren't just a participant in the economy anymore. You're fully awake to it. So what unseen costs will you stop paying tomorrow?